Japan's recent public demonstration of its naval railgun marks a significant point in the country's evolving defense posture, signaling a shift from a traditionally passive approach to a more proactive and technologically driven model of deterrence. The regional security environment around Japan has changed dramatically over the past decade, shaped by expanding military capabilities in the neighborhood, rising tensions in the East China Sea, and the strategic vulnerability of the Nansei Island chain. These dynamics have forced Tokyo to adopt a deeper, more systematic modernization of its self-defense forces, and the railgun has emerged as a symbol of this new era. The announcement by the Acquisition, Technology and Logistics Agency that the system had successfully completed a test firing at sea, penetrating armored steel at extremely high velocity, indicates both confidence in the technology and intent to communicate progress to the domestic public as well as to the broader strategic community. At its core, the Japanese railgun is an engineering achievement rooted in the application of Lorentz force acceleration, using electromagnetic energy instead of conventional chemical propellants. By pushing a projectile to hypersonic velocities, reportedly more than 8,000 kilometers per hour, the system delivers kinetic energy far beyond the limits of traditional naval guns. The test revealed that the weapon could maintain structural stability under repeated shots, with a barrel life estimated around 200 rounds before requiring major maintenance. The firing control system integrates advanced sensors and adaptive computation, enabling stable trajectories despite the extreme speeds involved. This combination of velocity, force, and guidance represents an industrial milestone, reflecting the disciplined engineering practices characteristic of Japan's defense sector. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Kawasaki Heavy Industries, and several research institutes have been instrumental in refining the barrel architecture, power generation modules, and cooling systems required for realistic naval deployment. The tactical value of the railgun becomes clearer when viewed within Japan's broader maritime defense doctrine. Modern naval warfare increasingly relies on a balance of high-cost precision missiles, medium-range interceptors, and low-cost volume fire to saturate or disrupt adversary operations. Japan's current inventory of long-range missiles, such as the upgraded Type 12, provides credible standoff capability, but their expense limits sustained use in a protracted engagement. A railgun fills a specific gap by offering a low-cost, high-velocity kinetic option for intercepting fast-moving targets, including unmanned systems, high-speed naval craft, and potentially even some classes of hypersonic threats. The difficulty of intercepting a projectile traveling at such extreme speed defines the railgun's deterrence value. It imposes uncertainty on an opponent's planning by making certain avenues of approach inherently riskier. When placed on escort vessels that regularly patrol key maritime corridors, the system becomes a flexible instrument for routine presence, escalation control, and crisis management. The strategic geography of the Nansei Island chain amplifies the railgun's relevance. The islands stretch across narrow maritime choke points that carry substantial security weight for Japan. These waters are too wide for fixed coastal artillery to dominate, but too narrow to rely solely on long-range missiles. Naval assets equipped with railguns could maneuver between islands, rapidly covering gaps and reinforcing areas vulnerable to infiltration or coercive pressure. The weapon's kinetic reach enables sea control operations without requiring high-cost missile expenditure. It provides an intermediate layer between sensors, drones, and long-range strike systems, creating what analysts describe as a hybrid grid of denial capability. If Japan succeeds in synchronizing railgun deployments with unmanned reconnaissance platforms and long-endurance radars, the resulting defensive network would significantly complicate any adversary's attempt to approach or challenge the Nansei region. Japan's decision to publicly reveal railgun testing also reflects a deliberate emphasis on transparency and reassurance. The government must balance its modernization efforts with constitutional constraints and a public that views national security through a lens of caution and restraint. The railgun, unlike offensive missiles or strike aircraft, is easier to justify in the context of self-defense. It does not carry explosive warheads, and its purpose is inherently defensive, neutralizing incoming threats or constraining hostile movements near Japan's territory. By foregrounding the system's scientific and technological components, Tokyo positions the railgun as a responsible capability that supports deterrence without provoking escalation. The domestic industrial benefit also strengthens public acceptance, as it showcases Japan's capacity to lead in advanced materials, research, energy systems, and electromagnetics, while creating high-skill employment in the defense technology sector. Nevertheless, the system faces several challenges that matter deeply to Japanese audiences. The first is energy supply. A naval railgun demands large, sudden bursts of power, requiring dedicated energy storage and distribution architecture that must be integrated without degrading a ship's primary systems. The second challenge concerns barrel durability. Even with improved alloys and internal coatings, electromagnetic launch imposes intense thermal and mechanical stress, raising maintenance demands. Third, real-world maritime conditions, heavy seas, electromagnetic interference, sensor disruption could reduce accuracy or complicate rate-of-fire expectations. Japan is known for its engineering precision, and the public expects the self-defense forces to deploy systems that perform reliably under all conditions. This expectation heightens scrutiny on the railgun's development phases and can influence budget debates. Japan's railgun program also exists within a larger global context. The United States scaled back its railgun project due to cost, integration difficulty, and shifting priorities toward hypersonic weapons. China is believed to have tested experimental platforms, though transparency is limited. South Korea has also announced research programs in electromagnetic acceleration. Japan's competitive advantage lies in its disciplined engineering culture, strong industrial base, and cautious but steady development timeline. By avoiding premature operational claims and focusing on proven incremental milestones, Tokyo maintains credibility while retaining flexibility to adjust the program based on technical results. Public reactions in Japan, based on commentary in mainstream media and expert discussions, tend to cluster around two themes: cautious pride and pragmatic concern. There is recognition that Japan must strengthen its defensive posture given regional uncertainties, and the railgun is seen as a technologically impressive step in that direction. At the same time, there is ongoing debate about cost efficiency, prioritization within the defense budget, and the implications of integrating such a system into the fleet. Japanese society places strong emphasis on fiscal responsibility and long-term sustainability, and these factors shape how defense procurement is interpreted. The Railgun's relative affordability per shot, compared with conventional missiles, helps justify its continued development, but its total life cycle expense remains a subject of discussion among analysts. Looking ahead to the period from 2030 to 2035, Japan's path toward operational deployment will hinge on several milestones. Engineers will need to validate long-duration barrel integrity, optimize the cooling system, and integrate a scalable power supply solution compatible with next-generation escort vessels. Parallel work on targeting algorithms, fire control stabilization, and high-speed impact modeling must advance to ensure the weapon performs safely and effectively in complex maritime environments. If these components mature on schedule, Japan could transition from experimental firing to limited operational trials on select ships toward the early 2030s. A fully integrated fleet deployment would likely follow only after exhaustive safety verification, given the country's rigorous technical standards. Japan's Railgun initiative ultimately illustrates a broader narrative. The country is modernizing its self-defense forces with deliberate caution, scientific rigor, and a persistent focus on defensive necessity. The system enhances deterrence not through aggression, but through technological sophistication, making any potential hostile action riskier and more uncertain. In doing so, Japan reinforces its role as a stabilizing presence in the Indo-Pacific, demonstrating that advanced defense innovation can coexist with a restrained and responsible security posture.